What's going on, fish? Welcome back to your favorite pond, the Coy Pond, episode 66. And we are filming this, recording this, however you want to say it, within 24 hours of the Super Bowl being over. We decided why not just get it over with now? Don't have to wait. Joining me once again, my best friend Matt. As you
Hello.
all know, he's been on a few times at this point. But we thought, why wait till Wednesday to talk about the Super Bowl when it's still fresh in our heads, and it was the Super Bowl that it was. Super Bowl licks, fucking everything against the Chiefs. If you watched any part of that game, you know that it was pretty much an absolute beatdown, and everything I told you last week was dead wrong. That, in my opinion, that game was the worst matchup it could have been, with the worst outcome it could have been.
I think it was a pretty good outcome.
Worst game it could have been.
Yeah.
Blowout.
That's
blowout.
what I wanted.
I mean,
it to be boring.
dude, I wanted a little life because it's the fucking last game of the season, and the only people happy about this are Eagles fans. Everyone's happy that the Eagles beat up the Chiefs, so I'm using it loosely, of course. But that was insane. I mean, that was not a game. Patrick Mahomes, as you see off the stats here, 11 quarterback rating. I think he beat Justin Herbert for the worst quarterback rating in the playoffs this season. Congratulations, Patrick Mahomes. I mean, that was just an absolute, spoof / Eagles had a dominating team that I read off the stats last week and told myself Mahomes' X factor is different. It wasn't. The Eagles beat him down. I mean, that was non-existent. I'll be honest, I was completely bought into the script and everything of that nature, and boy, I was just anything far from what was right. Saquon gets the Super Bowl ring. That's amazing. I can get behind that. It was his birthday on the Super Bowl too, I believe.
Him and Cooper DeJean.
Well as Cooper DeJean, and Cooper got one of those pick sixes. Pretty magical moment. I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, Matt. It was the first time a player scored in the Super Bowl on their birthday.
I believe it happened one other time. I think he's the first defensive guy to ever score on his birthday.
That makes more sense.
Yeah.
The fact that Saquon didn't join that list last night's actually kind of crazy.
And that was also his first interception ever of his NFL career too, which also makes it special.
And they kept saying that I guess at Iowa, Cooper DeJean had a bunch of takeaways or turnovers or interceptions, however you want to say it. Obviously, this season he hadn't gotten one yet, so to do that in the Super Bowl and to score is beyond magical. I'm sure that might be the best day of his life for the rest of his life.
That was my favorite thing coming out of the Super Bowl. Was at least Cooper DeJean got his moment.
Right. Pretty magical. Pretty sweet setup for the Super Bowl at the Caesars Dome in New Orleans. It looked like the party down there on Broadway, I think it's called, is the main strip.
I believe you're right.
Packed, or maybe that's Philadelphia and Bourbon Streets, New Orleans.
I
might have had that. It looked like a sweet environment. Game itself, though, I can't get over it. Kareem Hunt, P. Ryan, Pacheco, none of them made it to double digits for rushing yards. I mean, the Chiefs' offense was not out there hardly at all until the very end, where they got like a backdoor touchdown. Deep one to Worthy, and then another one to Worthy, or something
they
like that.
They had two big deep balls to Worthy, and outside of that, there wasn't much going on.
You can't talk much about the game. I mean, the Eagles' defense was just crazy.
And the O-line looked beautiful, too. Like, everything was clicking perfectly.
Everything with the Eagles was amazing. I want to know what the pregame speech was from Sirianni. Obviously, that baboon wins a Super Bowl. I've got to eat my words because he has the most talented team to ever be assembled. Eagles fans, if you've been watching this all season, got to feel pretty good because I've been heavily against the Eagles all season.
You, me, and Kevin.
But you know what? Kudos to you. That team is special. I still don't believe in Vic Fangio, but that team has so much talent. Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, Blankenship, Carter, Brandon Graham, I believe, was back for the Super Bowl, even though he may not have had he might not have been out there all the time. Just amazing all around. Dominating victory. I mean, to kill the Chiefs in the way that you do with Taylor Swift in the building. I mean, I'm happy the Swifties get to see a loss in the Super Bowl because, quite frankly, they came into the NFL at the perfect time to be a fan of the Chiefs. And it's sickening. I mean, you have Browns fans, tons of fans that have not seen their team ever win a Super Bowl, and you become a fan with Taylor C2. So I think a humbling experience. that'll probably keep the Taylor Swift stuff down on the DL for a little bit.
Very humbling, because I'm pretty sure I saw a stat during the game when they were down like 35 or 36. That's the most Patrick Mahomes has ever been down in his career in a regular season or postseason game.
Yeah, what was it, like 34?
Yeah, something like that.
35?
Yeah.
Like, oh my god.
34 because because halftime was 24-0, and then they scored 10 for.
Yep. So crazy shit. Honestly, I'm just gonna go somewhere else with this. It's just insane, honestly. The fact that Bills Chiefs played, I kind of felt like whoever won that was gonna win the whole thing. I just want to know what they did differently, that the Chiefs felt like they had no idea how to do, like what to do with it. It did feel like during the game that Patrick Mahomes tried to force a couple balls to Travis Kelce that just weren't happening.
It wasn't there,
when they had Watson open over the middle at some point, like just in my head what I can remember, it's just didn't click, didn't work. That is what it is. Seeing the Chiefs get killed, pretty exciting for me. I was happy to see them just get obliterated because the Chargers can never do that. I think they're 1-7 with Justin Herbert against them or something like that. Tooney, they moved Tooney to left guard for this game, and that was the biggest mistake they could have ever made. I think they just overloaded the left side of the offensive line, and Patrick Mahomes got sacked 6 times.
Yeah,
just absolutely abysmal. I'm kind of at a loss for words. Kenny Pickett gets the Super Bowl win over Patrick Mahomes. I mean, Philadelphia should burn to the ground. This is an insane just situation. Kudos to him. I
think I saw a stat that said he had 20 dropbacks and 10 pressures on 5 sacks, at least at some point in the game. Half the time he dropped back, he was getting pressured, like instantly.
Well, he's pressured 31 times on 32 attempts.
Yeah. Oh.
That's crazy. Yeah. Well, I didn't even look at that.
That was just the dropbacks.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, but yeah, so if it adds up.
Shit's wild. Chiefs will probably, do better. D-Hop with a couple bad drops. Everyone got the ball on the Chiefs side that could possibly be open.
That drop towards the end of the first half was a dagger.
Yeah,
wide open like first down, finally get momentum going. Instead, Philly comes back and scores before the half ends.
And, Kansas City's defense was out there like almost the entire game, it felt like. Definitely most of the first half. It's a Super Bowl. That's how it goes sometimes.
Lights are bright.
Lights were bright, and Mahomes, the Chiefs, just wasn't their day, which Tom Brady, of course, has got to feel pretty good about. Tom Brady's now 3-0 when involved with a game versus Patrick Mahomes. Pretty hilarious, to be honest. Yeah. So Nick Foles is somewhere just laughing to himself watching this all unfold. Tom Brady's got to be thrilled that the three-peat doesn't occur, and now the stat with Patrick Mahomes was like in 5 Super Bowls, he's got 7 touchdowns, 7 interceptions.
Yep, and
Tom Brady had something way better.
5 interceptions, I think, total in 10 Super Bowls.
Yeah. So Nick Wright, the beak himself, Patrick Mahomes, we'll have to see. He's still really good, no doubt. It's just, this is a damning record, or a damning game to have on your record, I should say, in the Super Bowl when you're trying to compare. What'd you say?
A big hit to Mahomes' GOAT conversation now. That's
for
like
sure.
It's not doable, but this was a big stain on the record.
Yeah, not to mention, I thought there'd be trickery in the Super Bowl, and I couldn't have been farther from right.
No.
That was, to a T, just the normal stuff.
The amount of passing that Philly did kind of shocked me a little bit. But I mean, like, they didn't have like that many yards this game just because they kept getting the ball like on the 40, 50.
Well, I mean, Jalen Hurts had 72 rushing yards. That's insane in itself.
Yeah.
I mean, they just dominated the game, controlled it, and got long touchdowns. Devontae Smith had himself a game, but like Xavier Worthy's the only one that comfortably hit all of his overs. Everyone else
all in garbage time.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it is what it is. Hey, that's Super Bowl, baby. We'll come back better. We'll learn from this, and win them all next year. I have nothing else for this.
No. It just proves that every game, the big games are proven in the trenches. The O-line and the D-line make the game. It doesn't matter how many stars you got. Like, they have Kelce, Worthy, Hop, Schuster, Hollywood Brown, Kareem Hunt, Pacheco are good. They got all these good players. They have the best quarterback in the league. And they still couldn't get anything going because the O-line just kept crumbling every single time.
Yeah, and talk more about the Eagles. Kellen Moore potentially staying down in NOLA, becoming the Saints head coach. It sounds like. Now at the end of the game in the Super Bowl press conference, Super Bowl ceremony, however you want to say it, it sounded like Nick Sirianni was pleading for Kellen Moore to stay.
So let's run it back.
Yeah, let's run it back. I'm very interested to see if Kellen Moore stays after winning the Super Bowl or he's gone, because this is now his third place he's been a coordinator, offensive coordinator at. Started with the Cowboys, went to the Chargers, then went to the Eagles. I kind of feel like because he's moved around so much, he did a few years with the Cowboys, 1 year with the Chargers, and obviously now with the Eagles. I feel like he's probably wanting that head coaching role.
Yeah.
Probably wants to get paid the money, probably wants to be responsible for a team. If I was him, I don't know if I'd go Saints. I don't know who's going to be open potentially next year either, or in 2 years, I guess that would be if he stayed with the Eagles.
A lot of head coaches moves have already gone around too.
Yeah, the Saints one's the last one, I believe, open.
I don't think it's going to be that big of a coaching carousel as it was last year.
Well, it's already all happened.
Yeah.
It's over, basically. Ben Johnson, Pete Carroll, a couple other guys I can't think off the top of my head. Eric Glenn.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting, because the Saints still haven't hired anybody. Everyone's thinking it's going to be Kellen Moore. I think Kellen Moore could be a great coach, but also the last OC that went to the Colts for the Eagles, what was his name? It doesn't matter, but he hasn't. The Colts haven't been great in the last 2 years either. That's probably more due to ownership, regardless. But you know what? Only time will tell. Super Bowl halftime. Matt, how'd you feel about it?
Worst one I've ever seen.
You know,
I can't say back when, like, the 60s, 70s, 80s, like, you know, those could have been horrible.
Way back.
But the ones I've ever watched, that was the most unentertaining one. I'm not saying he had a bad performance. Like, he didn't do bad himself. But compared to all the past shows we've had and all the hype around it, it was a complete flop for what it could have been.
You know, that's the best way to ship it. Yeah, it was hard to, like, visually. He modeled it after a PlayStation controller. Shout out Jordan for calling that out when he did. The whole theme was around Drake.
Yeah.
Like, to be completely honest, the costumes I didn't hate. I liked, you know, a couple of the moments they had. Everyone coming out of the car was kind of cool, obviously.
The red, white, blue, and there's a little symbols in there. And
I kind of like the low-key theming and whatnot, but, like,
when you're sitting there watching it live,
yeah,
like, I didn't know half the songs. And I actually know Kendrick. I actually know his, like, music.
Yeah.
And,
it was underwhelming, in my opinion. I felt like you've seen Coldplay, you've seen Katy Perry, you've seen Eminem, Snoop Dogg, you know, 50 Cent,
Beyonce,
Kendrick and them, Beyonce, Destiny's Child. You've seen all these performances throughout the years, and it's a spectacle. And that just felt a little underwhelming.
It didn't feel like there's much choreography whatsoever. Like, there's just a bunch of walking, and then it'd stop, and they do, like, a little dance here, and then get back to walking, and then a little dance here, then walk back across. Like, yeah.
Now, shout out to Kendrick for also taking the time to the same extent to just call out Drake that entire time. It was kind of hilarious to that extent.
Yeah, which, it was funny. Like, that's cool moments. Yes. Just, like, it felt like the entire build-up around it was that. Like, the big surprise you were talking about was having Drake's ex. Crip walking on stage, which is funny.
That was not
but, like, I was hoping a big star would come out. And, like, I've never listened to SZA, so I didn't really care for that either.
I know a lot of people are fans of her, but also I think she was only out there for, like, 2 songs.
Yep.
So even then, it wasn't like, if you're a SZA fan, you could really get.
But we had a little group watching it, and when she popped on stage, and the crowd went crazy. We're like, "Who's that?" Like, I honestly had no idea.
And you know what? Maybe it wasn't aimed at us. That's fine too, I guess.
For me,
such is life.
It needs to be better next year.
You know, you think they could go with a little bit more of a pop, but who knows? Trying to figure that out. We'll be here all day. The rest of this episode will just be us talking halftime shows.
Yeah.
Let me think. We covered Eagles, Chiefs. I mean, look, after losing a Super Bowl like this, not to keep jumping around, we can assume the Chiefs will be back, right? This loss isn't the reason that they go on a downward spiral. You know, Andy Reid, heart explodes, Spagnuolo leaves the team. Patrick Mahomes never has the confidence again.
No, like,
Travis Kelce retires.
They're still going to be a dominant force in the AFC.
Yeah.
Don't know if they'll be able to keep getting back to the Super Bowl or be as dominant as they have been.
Yeah,
you're riding the momentum of a potential three-peat working. Like I said, they had all these one-score games throughout.
Yep.
Some games don't go that way. They don't
right?
that punt. They don't fumble the snap on the Raiders. Like these could have gone other ways, and then they don't one seed. Then they have to go through harder teams, and they're a little bit more banged in the Super Bowl as well. So like,
I mean,
a bunch of what ifs here.
I completely agree. Their record could have easily have been 10 and 10-7, and that road is way different though.
I think next year, if we want to get into next year a little bit.
Yeah, let's talk a little 2025 action.
I'm not saying that Kansas City, they'll be still pretty relevant in the next 5 years. They'll make a Super Bowl or two within the next 5 years. That's not even going to be a question in my head. But I think next year it's going to be between the Ravens, Bills, Bengals as the top 3, and then maybe the Broncos or the Chargers. Then maybe they could be even top them off in the division. Because as we said, with those games, like the Broncos, they could done it this year. The one score games from the other way. Dang, sorry, I couldn't speak there for a second. But
no, you're totally right though, because like I said, hypothetically, let's say they lose. What would that have been? 5 of those 1-point games flip the other way, and their record's 10-7. If it's Broncos Chargers that get those 1-point games back, all of a sudden, Broncos or Chargers could have won that division.
And if the Raiders win, then they're only 3-3 in the division because the Broncos,
which is even worse. Yeah, so crazy shit that could happen with the Chiefs. I agree with you. The Bills. What do you say? Bills, Ravens, Bengals.
I think those are
teams to look out for.
Those are the most 3 I'd expect to make it there, and the dark horse would probably be between the Broncos, Chargers, the playoffs teams, obviously. And I think the Texans. I don't think they have their flow anymore.
I think they'll get it back. I think they lost it this year.
Yeah, I don't know. They're hit or miss for me.
Completely agree. I'm curious what Stephon Diggs does this offseason.
Yeah.
Especially with the performance the Texans had overall this season. Definitely a down year by all stretch of the imagination because of how glazed CJ Stroud was this 2 years ago. But that'll be interesting to watch. Obviously, was it Tank Dell that just his leg imploded?
Yeah.
Or was that...
no, that's Tank Dell.
So,
yeah.
Tank Dell comes back, different story. Dalton Schultz shows up, but you never know. Texans are just starting their journey with CJ Stroud, so I think they'll be better. Chargers should be better. Bengals will be better.
Yeah.
And Ravens, Bills. Interesting situation.
The conversation is going to be is when does that window close?
And people said that about the Bills when Davis and Diggs left. And obviously, Josh Allen elevated those wide receivers on the team this year. Yeah. James Cook had a phenomenal year as just a running back. I think they're going to be okay. The Ravens...
They have consistently not shown up in the playoffs.
Yes! I'm curious if players will start taking gigs with other teams in the AFC, potentially. Again, whole lot of what-ifs. Who really knows? But it's just a trend.
Lamar played well, but they even had Derrick Henry this year. Zay Flowers didn't show up. Mark Andrews dropped that ball. Who knows, But...
I forgot that was Mark Andrews.
It's either Lamar doesn't show up or the team doesn't show up. They're never on the same page in the Super Bowl, and I don't know if it's just jitters or like they're in their head mentally about that hump that they just can't get over. And that's how I feel about the Bills in the AFC Championship. It's like they just can't get past that point ever.
No,
I feel like that's like if they can't get past that, how are they going to get past to win the Super Bowl if they can't even get past the AFC Championship over and over? I feel like it's more of a mental thing now because they have the talent for it.
Yeah. Completely agree. I'm very interested to watch the Broncos this upcoming season. Bo Nix had a standout breakout rookie season on a team that was not supposed to be that good and did quite well. Sean Payton, obviously not a bad coach, knows what he's doing. He's found his new little Drew Brees. When some pieces around him more heavily, I'm curious to see how they do. I think they could be better. I'm hoping they don't pull a Texans and have a off second year.
I fell for this one before. This is the hot take. I don't think they're going to make playoffs, but I think they could win the division. The Panthers. I'm going back to this. 2 years ago, I took a bet the Panthers to win the division. I think they won 2 games. Bryce Young is finally getting his confidence back. The fans are actually starting to get behind him towards the end of the year. Well, one of our buddies from Charlotte, we were talking to him, Jason, he's been on here a couple times. He was saying, the fans are excited, saying, if you could have played this way all year, if they actually get him some pieces and he's finally finding his groove, I could see them at least maybe in the hunt this year.
Yes. Okay. This is a crazy take, but this year I agree with you because you look at that division, it's kind of what's the right word? Chaos in Atlanta right now.
Yeah. This feels like the Commanders pick for me. Like everyone told me it was going to be wrong. I said it. I wasn't 100% confident on it, but I believed it could happen. That's how I'm feeling about the Panthers this year. They could potentially win it next year. It's way too early to talk about it, obviously. There's still got offseason. We still got draft. We still got a lot. But that'd be my take.
Hey, I like it. And that's what's fun about this point in the season is it's way too early for anybody to actually know. I don't care who's on ESPN, and I don't care who's giving out a beak take. Anything can happen. If you look at the NFC South right now, Panthers ended their season on a pretty high note compared to where it started. Bryce Young picked it up. The team was meshing.
They took the Chiefs to the overtime.
Yeah, and you look at the Saints.
They beat the Bucs in overtime.
Yeah, they did. Yeah. You look at Tampa Bay, they lost Liam Cohen, who apparently is this great quarterback coach / I think offensive coordinator that was helping out Baker the last couple years. Buccaneers kind of fizzled out at the end of the season. Not to say Baker's bad, but there's going to be some questions that have to be answered.
I was high on the Falcons this year, and I don't think they're...
No, I mean, Kirk Cousins got benched by the end of it for, oh my God.
No, not Ritter.
No, that was a couple years ago.
Penix,
thank you. For Penix, who probably will be good, but also, like, weird situation mid-season for them. I mean, the Panthers could sneak in. You look at the rest of the NFC.
The NFC's not obviously that strong. That's another big point. I don't think the Vikings and the Packers, sure, they had a lot of wins, but I'm still not high on the Vikings.
Packers need
to figure out that QB system with Sam Darnold, if he's going to stay or if he's not. And the Packers, I still am not high on them. I don't know what it is. I just can't get over.
I think they're going to miss some pieces. I think Jair Alexander's probably gone. The defense was pretty solid, but the offense was always hurt. And quite frankly, I never knew who was going to catch a ball for the Packers. You look at the Lions, they lost OC and DC. Obviously, you still have Motor City Dan Campbell. Absolute dog. He'll get the boys fired up, without a doubt. But
outside the Eagles and the Lions, I don't see any super juggernauts.
Yeah,
the Niners are so injury prone and their morale is low. Maybe they could come back to form. Like I said, way too early to call. The Cowboys might be able to sneak in there again. The Commanders are on an up, but then there's also a sophomore slump that we just witnessed a season round that could also hit that team too.
I mean, does every team now knowing how Jaden Daniels plays 100% make it any different?
A lot more film to watch this year.
Yeah, that just seems to be the trend. I sound like I'm beating the broken drum with that one, but that's just how I feel.
Yeah.
Who else in the NFC have we missed?
I mean, the Saints, they collapsed after 2 weeks in. Falcons, they have a good team, but who knows? The Commanders, Cowboys, Giants are going to be horrible.
Giants still suck, without a doubt.
The Rams, the Seahawks, the Niners.
The NFC West.
That division is the definition of mid this year, at least. The Seahawks are always an even team. Yeah. Rams are usually an even team. Yeah, exactly. They just bully each other, but then they can't beat any big teams.
Because Debo Smith apparently wants to trade.
Cooper
Kupp trade. Stafford potential trade. The Seahawks, I don't know what to expect with Geno Smith. I feel like they move on, but DK Metcalf possibly gone.
Yeah. I don't think Kyler Murray's really that guy either to take him
Cardinals,
far.
Dude.
Yeah.
The Cowboys picked one of the Cardinals coaches up that apparently was a big pickup. So now it's like, okay, the NFC West might go through regression a little bit. I don't know which division they play in the AFC, but look for them to have a good year. It's going to be interesting. Kind of cap us off here. Early Super Bowl matchup prediction. Not winner, but if you had to pick matchup.
I'll let you pick first. Let me think for a second.
Let me pick first?
Yeah.
Okay. So Ravens can't get over the hump. Bills will be Bills. I think they'll both be better. I think the Ravens might take a step back. Chiefs, I'm just not going to pick because I don't want them to get there, to be completely honest. So that's where I'm at with them. You look at Texans, Bengals, Chargers. I'm not going to pick the Chargers because of myself. I think, honest to God, Bengals probably have a chance.
As long as they fix the early season, they do.
No, if they can hold teams to under or even with 30 points, they can win those games. That defense was just so abysmal that if they're on the same path that the Chargers were, and they're off by 2 years, I think, just a random early pick, Bengals in the AFC. And then NFC.
I have to go. I have to go.
I want to go Lions.
Yeah. I
want to do Bengals Lions, and we get the opposite of this year. We get the iconic any matchup that I actually want to see in the Super Bowl.
I'm praying, man.
If this next season is like, I'm not even gonna put.
I didn't have faith in the Eagles this year. I really didn't. I knew they were a juggernaut. I really didn't expect them to get this far, and that's not even just me being a Cowboys fan. I really just didn't see it, and they proved me wrong. So they could do exactly the same thing to me next year, and I'm going to be a hater. I'm not going to believe it. I think there's too much turmoil with Sirianni, Brown. I feel like there's too much cooks in the kitchen there. I feel like they're going to implode again. I really do. Even though they just won the Super Bowl, and I'm talking shit on them, I don't care. I don't see it happening 2 years in a row.
Don't get it twisted. I think
the Lions, and I like the Bengals. And if the Chiefs aren't there in the AFC Championship, the Bills might be able to beat the Chiefs. So I might take Bills, Lions.
Bills, Lions?
Yeah.
The matchup
we wanted. Matchup that should have been.
King of the North. Yeah, no, I completely agree. Bills, Lions, I love. I'm going to say Bengals, Lions just to try and get an extra subscriber from around here.
That's the King of the North right there, the AFC versus the NFC North.
Yeah. Oh. And I mean, who knows? Plenty of time between now and then. But I think, unless you have anything else you want to say,
no, that's all I got.
I think that wraps it up for us. Appreciate everyone watching all season long. Obviously, we're going to keep the podcast going into the off season. We're going to be changing stuff up a little bit, but podcast will be out every Thursday morning as per usual. That won't be changing. And you know what? We'll figure out what old Kev and I get into talking about. Because to be quite honest, I'll probably be talking some Miami sports. You know, we have March Madness around the corner. We'll dip our toe into that, just see if we can by a stroke of luck get anything right there. But Lord knows we don't know anything other than NFL. So there might be a couple videos where the second half is us ranking our favorite Pop-Tart flavors. Who knows? It could be, we could get into anything and just have the NFL on the front side of the video. That way, you know.
If I'm not on the podcast for, was it February 25th or March 25th, whatever it is, you guys better do a pretty good breakdown of the Luka returns to Dallas. Or Dallas returns. Yeah.
Yes.
The Lakers Mavs game.
Might need to have a special guest.
That's my next
Mr.
Super
Matt
Bowl.
On the podcast. Yes. Everything NBA, of course, our resident NBA expert, Matt. But regardless, appreciate everyone watching all season. And I think that's going to do it for us today. Hope everyone had a great Super Bowl. And, at the end of a season, the start of another, draft is right around the corner. Peace.